Now, let's move on to the second type of evidence. Examples. Examples first need to be specific. An example is something that actually happened. It is not a fairy tale. It is an actual scenario of something that actually happened that can be used as evidence. Now, examples are different from statistics because statistics are very much representative. Examples are quite personal. They may not be representative. Examples like what happened to me may not happen to you. So we have to be careful when we use examples as a piece of evidence. But examples, if they are common enough, then they can be representative. For example, we'll talk about examples later on. But remember, examples are not just imaginations. You need to have a real case, a concrete case of what happened in real life. Like the example of President Trump becoming the president, President Trump visited Vietnam, etc. Now all of these things, they happened. So they are examples. Examples should not be something that is imaginary. For example, you cannot just say something like this. People should not lie because when they lie, their nose will get longer. For example, in the story of Pinocchio, the boy lies a lot. The boy named Pinocchio, he lies a lot, so his nose gets longer. Therefore, you shouldn't lie. As you can see here, the story is not exactly an example. It's more like a fairy tale. It's not exactly what happened in real life. So when you use that to argue that people should not lie, a lot of people may question your example. You see? But if you can use that story to prove not that people should not lie, but that some cultures believe that we should not raise children to be liars. As in the story of Pinocchio. Pinocchio is a story. It is a representation of a culture or of some cultural beliefs. So you can use a story as an example to prove some cultural beliefs. Children should not lie in the sense that the culture doesn't believe that children should grow up being liars. But if you want to prove scientifically that lying is bad for people because lying makes their nose grow longer, then we have a problem. The story of Pinocchio is not a scientific example because it didn't happen. You see? So be very careful. Example should be something that really happened. It must be specific. Try to answer as many of the WH questions as you can. For example, what, where, when, how, etc., etc. Similar to statistics, examples also need to be explained and commented on because they prove anything at all. Without you, the writer, examples can prove anything. And they must explain with reasoning and logic, as usual. Let's take an example. Here I have a subtopic. Heavy smoking is harmful to human health. And I use an example to prove this point. My uncle, Nam, for instance, started smoking heavily when he was 3 years old. Without parental supervision, he continued to smoke until he turned 40 years old, by which time he developed lung cancer, a smoking-related disease. Even when he heard the bad news that he got lung cancer, he could not quit smoking, and he died of cancer 5 years after that. Smoking heavily here clearly contributes to his declining health, even to his death. So as you can see here, I have an example. It happened, and it's specific enough. I answer the question of who. I don't just say some people who smoke a lot die of lung cancer. Now that is not an example because it is too general. An example needs to be specific and personal, at least to you. Like here, I have the name of my uncle. I have specific details of when he started smoking, when he developed lung cancer, and when he perished because of the disease. So everything about my example is specific, and it's important that you have examples like this instead of subgeneral example. Like if people smoke a lot, they will die of lung cancer. Now that is not an example, that is not evidence, it is not really used in good academic writing. And of course, if a lot of people have the same experiences of some close relatives, families, or friends who smoke a lot and then have lung cancers and die, then my example can be quite representative. That's how you can use examples. Okay, so next time we are going to continue with the third type of evidence, which is quotations, and then I move on to talk a little bit about the concluding sentence, and then we will end with some checklists to have a good paragraphs, so that you can just put a tick whenever you write paragraph to know whether your paragraph is good enough. Thank you.